Explosive. Danielle Smith roars and blasts Carney's buyback program as Canadian study permits crash. Canada is currently facing an unprecedented combination of political and educational crises that have captured the attention of the entire nation. Premier Danielle Smith has forcefully criticized Prime Minister Carney's controversial gun buyback program, describing it as a confiscation and seizure rather than a truly voluntary initiative. Simultaneously, Canada's international education sector is reeling from a dramatic 50% drop in study permit approvals in 2025, with Indian students being disproportionately affected. These parallel developments are raising concerns about the country's political stability, economic priorities, and its standing as a global education hub. Premier Danielle Smith has made it abundantly clear that Alberta will not participate in the federal government's gun buyback program under any circumstances. She insists that the initiative is coercive rather than voluntary, framing it as a direct attack on law-abiding firearm owners. Smith has vowed to explore legal avenues to protect Alberta residents, warning that the province will resist federal overreach. Her defiant stance has sparked a heated debate across Canada, with supporters praising her defense of personal freedoms and critics accusing her of jeopardizing national security. Prime Minister Carney, who became Canada's leader in March 2025, has defended the buyback program as a necessary measure to curb gun violence and protect citizens. The program encourages the voluntary surrender of assault-style firearms in exchange for compensation, with the aim of reducing firearms-related risks. Despite its stated purpose, the initiative has faced intense criticism over concerns of federal overreach, potential legal consequences for noncompliance, and the perception that law-abiding citizens are being unfairly targeted. Carney maintains the program is vital for public safety, but the political backlash continues to grow. The growing rift between Premier Smith and Prime Minister Carney exemplifies the widening divide between provincial autonomy and federal authority in Canada. Alberta's outright refusal to cooperate highlights ongoing tensions regarding governance and the limits of federal mandates. Many observers believe this confrontation may set a precedent for how other provinces respond to federal initiatives perceived as overreaching, potentially reshaping Canadian federalism in the years ahead. Political analysts warn that unresolved disputes of this nature could lead to prolonged legal battles and heightened regional polarization. Beyond the political discourse, the buyback program carries significant economic consequences for the Canadian government and taxpayers alike. The cost of compensating firearm owners is projected to be substantial, raising concerns about diverting funds from critical areas such as healthcare, infrastructure, and social services. Critics argue that the financial burden may outweigh the benefits of the program, particularly given the current economic climate and budget constraints. Public debate has intensified over government priorities, resource allocation, and whether the program delivers measurable benefits relative to its high costs. At the same time, Canada's international education sector is facing a severe downturn that threatens the financial stability of many institutions. Study permit approvals have dropped by nearly 50% in 2025, with Indian students experiencing one of the steepest declines in permit issuance. This reduction has left colleges and universities struggling to maintain enrollment numbers and has created uncertainty for students who had planned to study in Canada. The decline is a major concern for the education sector, which relies heavily on international student tuition for operational funding and research programs. Several factors have contributed to this dramatic decline in study permits, including the introduction of stricter immigration policies and a 10% reduction in the annual cap on study permits. New requirements such as provincial or territorial attestation letters, PAL/TL, have added complexity and delays to the application process, discouraging many potential applicants. Combined with rising global competition for student mobility and changing international perceptions of Canada, these measures have intensified uncertainty and created significant barriers for prospective students seeking higher education in the country. The impact of declining international student numbers is being felt acutely across Canadian educational institutions. Colleges and universities heavily reliant on tuition fees from international students are experiencing serious financial strain. For example, Conestoga College in Ontario reported a staggering 97% drop in new international student permits in recent months, highlighting the vulnerability of institutions dependent on global enrollment. Universities and colleges are now grappling with the need to diversify revenue streams and reconsider enrollment strategies to remain sustainable amidst these challenging conditions. The repercussions extend beyond educational institutions and are affecting housing, retail, and service industries that rely on international student populations. Reduced student arrivals have led to decreased demand for housing, dormitories, and rental properties, creating financial setbacks for landlords and service providers. Restaurants, shops, and public transportation systems in college towns are also experiencing declining revenue, illustrating how the drop in student numbers has broader economic ripple effects. Experts warn that the long-term consequences could impact Canada's economic competitiveness and global attractiveness as an education destination. Public opinion in Canada remains deeply divided on both the gun buyback program and the study permit decline. Supporters of Carney's buyback argue that it is a necessary step to protect public safety, while critics view it as an infringement on civil liberties and property rights. Similarly, the steep drop in study permits has sparked debates over Canada's reputation as a welcoming country for international students, with some arguing that it threatens the nation's long-term standing in global education markets. These controversies reflect broader tensions between public safety, economic growth, and the need to maintain Canada's international image. Canada now stands at a critical crossroads, facing intertwined political, economic, and social challenges that will influence the country's trajectory for years to come. The ongoing clash between Premier Danielle Smith and Prime Minister Carney over the gun buyback program reflects deeper questions about federal authority, personal freedoms, and the balance of power in Canadian governance. Meanwhile, the sharp decline in international student numbers calls for urgent reassessment of immigration and education policies to ensure Canada remains competitive and globally engaged. How the government addresses these challenges will determine public confidence and the nation's ability to thrive in a rapidly changing world. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for latest updates.